to Affaircare, to our little series on rebuilding after an affair, reconciling and recovering your marriage after there's been an affair. Today we're on the step, that's one of my favorite steps actually, it's WTFS, which I'm sure you're wondering what in the world that means. Okay, so for today's podcast, invariably, as you are carefully rebuilding your marriage, there are going to be topics that come up that are difficult to discuss, but that do need to be brought up for a truly healthy relationship. You're going to need to get through these difficult topics. The problem is that the discussions like this that were brought up before were harmful to your marriage. Usually, back in the past, one spouse might word it like, you did this and you did that. And it's kind of blamey, right? So the second spouse then, of course, responds defensively, defending themselves, and it all kind of spirals downhill and turns into a fight. We don't want to do that anymore. We want to have a way to address topics that need to be done, but that also is not going to be harmful to your marriage. As you can see, rebuilding a marriage really is a step-by-step process, and each step kind of builds upon the previous steps. So far, you two have forgiven each other. You've committed to each other and to doing the work. You've taken some time together to do something that was fun, to start to learn to enjoy each other again rather than associating negative things with your spouse. And you've learned how to reach a mutual understanding where the two of you are united and you both clearly understand what the other guy was talking about. So now you really are ready to start addressing some of the difficult topics, the uncomfortable topics. But here's the new step. You need a tool. So one way to respectfully bring up those kind of topics, the ones that are difficult and kind of uncomfortable, and to avoid that downward spiral, is using this technique, the WTFS method. So what does it stand for? WTFS stands for when you, I think, I feel, so I'd like to request. So let's go over each letter and we'll discuss it. Okay, so the W stands for when you. This is where you would put into words whatever the issue or the situation is. The goal here is that you don't want to word it in a way that's blamey or pointing fingers or making your spouse to be the bad guy, but rather you want to focus on the situation or the specific behavior, the action that's occurring that is just not sitting well with you. In fact, sometimes you might want to say, when this occurs, and then continue on, rather than when you. But it's just a way to identify, here's the topic I would like to discuss with you. Okay, the next letter is T for I think. At this point, what you want to do is share the words that you think inside your own head. Now, we all have a voice that kind of runs inside our head. I personally call that the little tape, right? The tape that runs inside my head. But it's like a narrative or a narration that's going inside your head. Those are your thoughts. You want to share your thoughts with your spouse. Now, here's sometimes where we get into a little bit of a discussion of things like, how honest is honest and what is transparency and all that. Here's the way that I rule it. You want to share the true you. You don't want to hide it. You don't want to sugarcoat it. You don't want to, you want to tell the real life truth. But let's say, for example, inside your head, what you think is a lot of swearing words and pretty derogatory, okay? You could still share the essence of the message without not needing to include all the expletives and derogatory stuff. So I'll give you an example. If inside your head you think, I am such a blanking idiot. I can't believe that blanking person did this to me. You might share to them, when you say I think that I am a fool for trusting you again. And there you go. I mean, you're being honest, but you didn't use all the expletive stuff. Okay, so if you are blessed as a natural thinker when you did your Myers-Briggs test, you'll probably find this part pretty easy because you're very in touch with your thoughts. So you just want to share your thoughts. If you are a feeler, type in your Myers-Briggs. This one might be a little bit more difficult, but again, try to describe whatever the little voice is inside your head, and that's probably the closest that a feeler person will get to this part. Okay, so the next part is I feel, the F, I feel. At this point, you want to share with your spouse how you feel about the specific behavior or the situation that's occurring, the thing, whatever. You want to use words that describe your emotions. And you want to just stretch your vocabulary a little bit beyond happy, sad, angry, or frustrated. Yes, we all understand happy, sad, angry, and frustrated, but we want to try to, pull that thesaurus out and use more descriptive emotional words. Okay, you want to kind of paint a picture. If you are a natural thinker type, this might be a little bit difficult. So I'm going to attach to the YouTube and to the podcast page on affaircare.com a little list of a few words. It's the emotional words. And those words might help you expand your emotional lexicon a little bit. If you are a feeler type, you'll probably get this. You're well acquainted with these words. You probably get this part really easy. You'll be able to share your feelings pretty easily. Okay, and then the last part is the S, so I'd like to request. This is probably the most important part. If you skip this step, basically all you've done is complain. So, right, I mean, great, this behavior isn't any good, I think this, I feel that. Well, big whoop, that doesn't really change anything, address anything, nothing. And also, the funny thing is, if you don't request what you want, often I think as spouses, we think we know our spouse so well that we know what they want, we know what they think, we know what they, she'll never put up with this, that kind of thing. But this part is extremely important because what you're saying is, I'm identifying this action as not being okay with me. I'm going to share with you what I think about it and what I feel about it. And I'm going to request, here's what I would ask of you to make it be okay with me. This is also, it's really important to note that this is a request. It's not a demand. It's not a commandment. You're not God. Your spouse is exactly equal to you in your relationship. So you can ask them if they are willing to would you be willing to do this instead? Now, at that point, your spouse is completely free to say, yes, I'm willing to do that, or no, I'm not. But the little, like rule, if you will, I'm doing this thing, rule, is that if you say no, then what you would say is, no, I'm not willing to do that, but here's what I am willing to do. So if you do say no to your spouse, then come back with what you are willing to do. And then you guys keep, you use the mutual united understanding part. See how this is a step-by-step thing? Then you reach some sort of agreement that you both go like, yeah, that works for me. Yep, that works for me. We're good. And you're together. So see how that works? Okay. So finally, as an example, I'll give you an example of what a TFS technique would sound like. And here's the little imaginary situation that I'm going to use. And that is that I'm the disloyal spouse. And I get a cell phone call at home. And I go to another room to take the call. My dear hubby, the loyal spouse, he's not very cool with that. It kind of triggers him, right? Because it's like not quite right with him. So he's going to give me a WTFS statement to talk to me about it. And here's what it would sound like. He'd say, when you get a call on your cell phone and you leave to take the call in another room, I think that you're trying to hide the conversation or who called. I feel scared that I'm going to get hurt again, and I feel a little bit excluded. So I'd like to request that if you do get a phone call, would you be willing to answer it right here in front of me and take the call right then and there? If you need to go somewhere more quiet, let's work out a quick signal between us. Okay, so did you hear the elements of the WTFS in that statement? I'll go over them real quick for you. When you, that's the W, and he said when you get a call on your cell phone and take it to another room. Okay, so we identified the issue that was causing problems. Again, you could say, instead of saying when you could say when there's a call on the cell phone. When this happens, see what I mean? When it so happens that you get a call on the phone, whatever. You see what I'm saying, right? You're trying to not be blamey, and that was not blamey. Okay. Then the T part, I think. Okay, so he said, I think you're trying to hide the conversation or who called. That's what's going on in his head. He's thinking, oh my God, she's trying to hide who that is. She's trying to hide that call, right? And then what do you feel? Well, if you think that kind of thing, you're going to feel scared, right? And you're going to feel hurt. So again, the I feel scared that I'm going to be hurt again, sharing the F part of that statement. And then the S, so I'd like to request. And he said right out, I'd like to request if you do get a cell phone call, just answer it right in front of me. Okay. Now, at that point, the disloyal spouse is completely free to say, yes, I would be willing to do that. I would be willing to take my call right in front of you. Or, no, I'm not willing to do that. But what I am willing to do is, and as an example, a very legitimate example would say, but what I am willing to do is show you who the call is so you can see it's the doctor's office. And then I would answer the call as I walk to the other room. And then see how you would move then. You'd mutually, then maybe the loyal spouse would say, oh yeah, okay, that would work for me. Or maybe the loyal spouse would say, actually, that really kind of doesn't work for me. Could we try this? And you just keep working along until you both get something that is like, yeah, that works for me. I'm okay with that. And then see how you are. You've addressed the situation. You've shared yourself with your spouse. And you guys have come to a resolution where you both are okay with it. And you've resolved it. It's done. So that's our little technique today that for the podcast, WTFS. If you think to yourself, well, hey, that is a cool sounding idea, but I am not sure how I would do that for my situation, why don't you go ahead and email me at, you can email us at affaircare@gmail.com. Or likewise, you could leave a comment on the podcast page for at affaircare.com. So, all right, thanks so much for joining the podcast. Next week, we'll be going over the next step, which is selfless, selfish, or self-aware. And we're going to discuss which one of those is, part of a healthy, rebuilding a healthy marriage. So, all righty, thanks a lot. See you next time. Bye-bye.